Arsenal then, a 3-1 defeat for them in the Europa League, down to 10 men from 41 minutes in that game. How big a setback is it for them?
Well, it would be a big setback if the tie was over. I mean, they have the home tie to look forward to next week. But I think it's the fact that they've sent out a very strong team to play, knowing that they have an even bigger game at the weekend and then have to play the home leg. 3 games in 7 days, they're going to have to change the lineup somewhere. I think is really tough for Arsenal. And a lot you know, is expected of them, I think, in the Europa League. The selection suggested that. I think it's a real setback for them going into the weekend's game.
What does that selection tell us about where their priorities lie?
I think it's the Europa League. I think on a Thursday, people argue that, well, if you play on a Tuesday or a Wednesday and then you play the Saturday in the Premier League, it shouldn't be much difference. But I think that it is. It's the travelling, it's the closeness to the games as well. And I just think when you look at it...
Not in this instance, though.
No, no. But as in terms of usually your build-up is then, OK, Friday, tomorrow, they're not going to be able to do much, especially the players that played. And you look at it, it's a very strong team, and you think to yourself, well, OK, you've got realistically a day to prepare for the United game. And I think that becomes a problem. But I think to add on to it is that if you look at after the second leg, as far as I'm aware, Arsenal don't have a game. So there was no reason to play their strongest team this evening. So it tells me we know Emery's history within the Europa League. He's had great success in it. And I just feel that he's actually prioritising the Europa League, you know, which is a risky one. But I think at some point, Chelsea and Arsenal have got to do that, prioritise one. It's
quite early in the competition, though, to be prioritising. It's only the first leg of the last 16. Yes, they're in the knockout stages, but with top 4 still on, it seems early to be making those decisions.
Yeah, I think so, but I think to play on a Thursday night, then away again on Sunday, your chances of winning are about 30%. So the difficulty, I think, for that group of players, you come back tonight, you're disappointed with the game, you don't sleep, then you've got to recover in the morning and you've got to prepare for the weekend's game. Makes it tough for Arsenal. But clearly the manager has prioritised this competition. Otherwise, I think the selection would have been different. I think the disappointing thing for Arsenal is, yes, they were down to 10 players, but at 2-1, I think taking that scoreline back home to the Emirates would have been preferable. But they were pushing forward late on, and going 3-1 down, I think, makes it, you know, that much tougher. They've got the away goal, but they're vulnerable. And you can see that with the goals they've conceded this evening.
Are they right to prioritise the Europa League? You've both said that they've done it. Is it a sensible decision?
Only Emery will tell you that. I think you look at it, you've still got some very good teams in the Europa League. There's no doubt about that. The likes of Napoli, Sevilla themselves, Inter Milan, Valencia, you don't know what you're going to get from them. So it's a tough one, but I think from Emery's perspective, he's probably looking and thinking, Manchester United are in great form at the moment. Tottenham, you know... I personally think that they'll be fine within the top 4. So all of a sudden, you know, is there a better chance of them winning the Europa League? We've seen Manchester United do it a couple of seasons ago. It worked in their favour. We saw Arsenal try and do it last year. It didn't work either way for them. So...
I think if you're Emery, though, this is his first season. It's a chance of silverware. It's a competition he knows. It's a competition he's won. I think, inevitably, you know, he may feel his squad is better equipped for the Europa League, and it does guarantee Champions League football. So I always struggle when the conversations around do we prioritise one over the other, because I don't think any football manager goes in thinking like that. Because once you start to develop that mindset and you tell your players, oh, this is not that important, but that one is, then it means that, you know, a little bit of complacency happens.
There might be games in those runs where you trust your squad a bit more, that you rely on fringe players.
Absolutely, but we're talking about being at the latter stages of competition that the manager's won and knows how to win. The chances of making top 4 are still high, but talking about Manchester United with a resurgent position, Chelsea, I think, have had a good run of games of late. It's going to be tough for Arsenal to make the top 4, but I think the setback of tonight, it's the things that you don't necessarily, you know, think are going to be issues. Like I said, it's sleep, it's emotional disappointment. Those players are going to be going home tonight, you know, upset about the outcome, and they're going to have to extend themselves further to try to qualify. You do that on the back of a weekend game. If they don't win at the weekend, there's huge pressure for Arsenal going into Thursday.
I think sometimes the manager doesn't really have... The manager doesn't have to tell the players, I'm going to prioritise this, I'm going to prioritise that. Sometimes his starting 11 will tell you that. I think that's the big thing here. Now, if we see a similar team against United at the weekend, or a stronger team, which is...
He can make changes and still have a strong team, as he did tonight.
He can do, but I just think that they find themselves in a position where, I'm not saying he had to, but if he'd have made more changes and gone out there, then he's got players fresh then for the game on the Sunday, knowing full well they've got the second leg, which is at home, and then the weekend is theirs. You know, they've got that break then. So I think it's the selection more than anything tells you the direction that I believe Emery is looking at, which is that he sees the Europa League as his best opportunity, because there are a lot of players playing there this evening that I didn't think would be playing.
As for Chelsea, a lot more straightforward for them. Job not quite done, but almost?
Yeah, almost. I think Chelsea have been on a good run, as we know, in the last few games, and that's a comprehensive win, regardless. I mean, it's still a top opposition. And to think that they can now go away from home with that scoreline suggests that the selection was right. I mean, it was a strong Chelsea team, and equally, and I always, we talked about this off air. Chelsea is a club about winning. It isn't about one over the other. Winning is what matters. So this competition is as important as Sunday's game at the weekend, and I think Chelsea are in a very good space. They've certainly come up with a way of playing of late, I think, where they're much tougher to break down. And I think the clean sheets are giving the team confidence, and certainly the platform, I think, for their attacking threats to score, and I think that's a wise decision, by the coaching staff to do that. For
a club that's set up to win things, what do they do if they are forced to prioritise between the Europa League and finishing fourth? Or in the top four?
Again, I think... win both. That's the challenge, and that's what the objective is. I don't think that changes. Ultimately it's about getting into Champions League. I think for any club it is, and for Chelsea that's no different. But Chelsea can go on and win this competition. We've got the quality to do it. They've got the depth to do it. I mean, you look at Giroud. He's got something like six goals out of the last 7 or 8 games within the Europa League. He's always been involved with those goals. We've got quality throughout the squad, and I think the confidence is rising high again. They've found a way of playing that's suiting the players to get the results that they need.
Is it a way of playing that suits the Europa League, suits the competition, do you think?
I think if you look at both of the games this evening, Chelsea made 5 changes, Arsenal made 4. You would have expected it to be the other way around. In my opinion, you think, right, OK, away the first leg, let's just keep it tight. We don't necessarily need to play our best players, our strongest team, or closer to our strongest team. And then we can get back and play the strongest team. Whereas Chelsea have looked at it and gone, right, can we finish this tie in the first leg with 5 changes that they've made? So their team actually, when you look at it in relevance from the weekend, isn't as strong as Arsenal team, and Arsenal were playing away. But it's a great result for Chelsea. They've as good as got the result now that they need, that should see them through. And they do have a game a week on Sunday. I think they play Everton. So, it puts them in good stead for that.
Quick word on Maurizio Sarri as well, because it's only a couple of weeks ago that he was having to face questions about whether or not he was still going to be Tottenham manager. We were talking about it on here. Is he still going to be the Tottenham manager after the Spurs game? Is he still going to be in charge of the club? Has he turned a corner?
Well, I didn't know he was the Tottenham manager to begin with, but...
No, ahead of the Tottenham game.
Oh,
yeah.
Look, it's the tough life of a manager, and he's weathered the moment, I think, really well. It was a fantastic performance from the team, I think, in the Carabao Cup final, and it was important the team, showed their mettle, so to speak, and the qualities that we have at our club. And I think from there on in, the team have really kicked on, and I'm sure that there's been, strong words among all, but that happens in teams when you're not winning, and to think it doesn't, people would be naive about it. But I think what they have done is they've found a happy medium, and you can see it in the way they're playing. Certainly playing a lot deeper, Chelsea, inside their own half, a lot more compact, a lot lower. And I think as a result of that, it means that they're not getting caught pressing in the wrong areas and then getting pulled apart and exposed and vulnerable, where it's already been highlighted. And I think playing this way is a return to, some of the stuff we've seen under Conte, but I think winning breeds confidence, and that's what's happening at the moment.